Welcome to Linebreak Rugby. This is your host Sav, and with me we have Ed, or Wallopy Joe as he's known on the sub.
Hello.
And it's just go. I mean, the biggest talking point of the weekend: Bristol beat Bath. Yeah, Bristol beat Bath, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm quite impressed.
What even happened over the weekend? You know, this is up is down. No, there are no laws anymore. Do what you want.
Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
It's okay. Well, there was one point. So I was trying to explain. Obviously, the biggest talking point's the Italy no ruck situation. I was trying to explain to my girlfriend, who doesn't really follow rugby or know anything about rugby. I was trying to explain that what Italy were doing was completely like nobody ever does it. It's not a thing. And her response was, why didn't they come out in the second half and just try and play football instead? And I was just like, well, okay, Jesus, at least. But people were getting it. I don't know. People were switched on and understood that this was something that nobody did.
Oh, but it was only a 1-point win as well. That's
the Bristol, Bristol beat Bath. It was 11-10, 12-11. 12-11.
So it's just, I suppose that's. I'm just curious, how many? That's not what I want. This isn't their first win, is it? It's their third win. They've got 3 wins so far.
Yeah, and they are fighting for their lives.
Yeah, that's not okay. I mean, Harlequins have managed to. God, Harlequins are in 7th. That's still shite.
Quins are getting relegated.
In a year or two, I predicted it a few months back. It'll happen soon enough. The bottom of the Premiership table is kind of weird, but it's So Bristol and Worcester are both on only 3 wins.
Yeah.
But Worcester also have 2 draws, but are only 2 points clear of Bristol.
So the relegation battle was really getting heated. To be honest with you, because everybody's doing quite well at the bottom. They're winning games that they shouldn't. Right? Should we actually talk about the Italy-England game then?
I think we should. I should throw in the disclaimer first of all that I haven't actually watched the game yet. I was at somewhere about 35 or 40,000 feet while it was happening, and so far I've just seen highlights. But I got to say, we landed and I thought, I've got to get onto the free Wi-Fi so I can download a VPN and watch the match on iPlayer or ITV's equivalent, which is apparently shit, and get caught up to date, and that would be fine. And then just trying to work my way through and slowly losing the kind of... I kept getting slightly too nosy and slightly too curious. And every time I went further down or saw something, I thought... oh, this all looks very negative. Has something gone very wrong? And then I got to the highlights, and I had started watching the highlights, and within about 30 seconds, I was like, "Holy shit! Have we actually managed to somehow lose?" And so I was panic-stricken for all of about 40 or 50 seconds.
The fear set in.
But it's. I honestly cannot wait to watch it through because the entire thing just seems kind of fascinating.
As an Englishman, obviously, everybody exploded. It's gone. It's gone pretty crazy.
Everyone has massively overreacted. I may well have done had I watched it live, but from the position I'm in at the moment, that's how I'm viewing the situation.
The interesting, right, so there's obviously a million different things that went on in that game, and as an Englishman, it's going to sound really weird to say, right, I think Poit had a good game.
Rarity.
I think, sure, he made maybe 2 or 3 decisions that were wrong, but they weren't actually, they were... he blew the whistle too early for Noel's non-try, but it didn't make a difference.
I've not seen that.
And there was something about Danny Kerr's try that might have been a bit suspect, but I'm not 100%.
Of what I gathered, I think Poit was still kind of pointing the finger at a few of the Italians when Kerr actually tapped and went. And so maybe he should have waited a bit longer, but I couldn't say for sure.
So for a start, Poit did quite well, but what didn't happen, and what the difference that I'm quite interested about, and even Fred's written an article on it, because England didn't deal with anything in the first half at all. They didn't problem solve. They didn't come together in a little huddle before a line out or before a scrum and say, look, this is what we need to do. Nobody stepped up to the plate really as a leader and explained that maybe a pick and go would be a better option, or trying to solve the problem.
They couldn't react to the circumstances in front of them. It's like Italy kind of went against type and went against whatever game plan Eddie Jones and the England setup had worked out, and they just didn't know how to get back on track.
But to me, that screamed of a power vacuum. It screamed of a lack of a leader who knew what they were doing. There were two people that kept on playing quite well: Daly and Itoje, and Launchbury to a certain extent. Launchbury got man of the match, so he didn't play badly. As it's getting a bit traditional to just kind of give it to Launchbury when England kind of do well, even when they don't win. When England do well, I suppose Launchbury just gets it. He does play well, but it was kind of a random man of the match for me because I think Daly possibly had a better game. But Daly and Itoje, for me, were the only two people who I would say have really, really, like, beyond analysis, they have really good rugby brains.
Okay, yeah.
So they switched on to what was happening and then they just got on with it. Whereas I felt like Hartley was a vacuum. There was nothing intelligent coming out from Hartley. Haskell kind of wasn't his fault. He asked the question and then got a little bit snippy.
Haskell is getting way too much stick for that. Because granted, again, it's kind of all out of context and a bit higgledy-piggledy, so to speak. But I've seen the clip of him asking Poit, what the rules are, what they need to do, and I kind of feel for him because as best I can work out, however Poit is determined to interpret what's going on, fair enough.
He should explain.
And if he's not, fair enough in asking, well, what should we be doing instead? It's to say I'm a referee, not a coach. I mean, just where I am at the moment of the highlights I've seen and of the few snippets I've seen taken out of context of the match, everyone's calling it, not rugby, underhanded. Eddie Jones has said if that's rugby, then he'll retire. And I think it seems to be this massive, gross overstatement because just understanding what Italy's game plan was, which, for those who aren't aware at the moment, is they were tackling, but then not committing plays to the breakdown, so there would be no ruck, so they could hover about in positions that would otherwise be offside and disrupt the flow of quick ball. And as a tactic, I think it's quite impressive. I quite like it. I mean, I will continue to say that I say this from a position of not having watched the game live, and had I done so, my bias for the Red Rose might have flared slightly hotter than
I think I'm trying to interpret how you would have interpreted it. I think you would have got. I think you would have been impressed by O'Shea. I think you'd have been impressed by O'Shea, but you would have been very frustrated by Danny Kerr.
It is. I mean, watching it, it's kind of weird because. But as you say, it's the fact that they didn't deal with it because, as best I can work out, they kind of... No one scored for the first 20-odd minutes, but the fact that they kept on doing it was like, just pick and drive. Because he kept looking for the option to pass. And it's bizarre because Ben Youngs has had a kind of shitty tournament so far, or of the two games I saw. Granted, he hasn't had the best platform to play off, but of the performances the two scrum halves that we'd picked had put in, I thought Kerr was deserving of a start. And the start he gets, the game plan just goes to complete shit, and maybe Youngs would have done a better job of dealing with it, but I kind of feel I suppose it's just an indictment of where Quins are at the moment, I suppose, as well, just because of their form. But I find it just so bizarre that there's this massive disconnect between what's going on and what they should be doing and what they were actually doing.
Well, it comes back. So it actually comes quite neatly round to another podcast that we did. I don't know if you were on it. You might have been on with Fred. Fred and I were on it. Basically saying coaches And in this case, players almost, if there's an extreme event happening, something that you haven't planned for, it's very difficult to change the way a whole team plays. It's not so much that individuals can't change what they do, it's that changing a massive organization as a team into doing something completely different and really technical is really hard to communicate. So even in the second half, I don't think England had actually solved that much about what to do. Sure, they did some pick and goes, and they actually tried to... I thought this was the wrong thing to do. It wasn't a bad thing, but I thought it was the wrong thing. They tried to set up some mauls, which kind of works only as first phase. You can only set up the first phase as a maul, and then from then on it doesn't really work. So it was kind of a short-term solution to what was a whole game problem. So I and that obviously came from somebody in the English backroom staff who thought that would solve it. And I didn't actually think that was the... I mean, it worked kind of, because Launchbury had a weird break that it worked. But I actually didn't... I wasn't that impressed by England generally. I don't think anybody in the England team, even in the first 20 minutes...
It's a bit of a trend of the Six Nations so far. Because we've now won 3. And it's we haven't been playing brilliantly. We haven't been playing brilliant rugby. In fact, we've been playing. In fact, Nathan Hughes, and I was going to mention this later. Nathan Hughes had the single worst start to an international. I've not been at all convinced that I have seen in a long time in an England shirt, and I know that I've got to try and. I'm not very good at...
I mean, I get it. Daly got a yellow card in like the first minute or 2 minutes, didn't he? Oh. No, not in this game, but previously. I mean, as a start for an international, like you can put Daly up there as being a bad start.
You mean his
but
red
in
card
actual errors that were made, red card.
That was 4.5 minutes in, but it's
that was a bad start. But Hughes, I think he dropped the ball maybe twice. He gave away a penalty that was kind of in front of the post that Italy managed to miss somehow. He was out of position for something. It was all a little bit weird. I kind of feel
like he's been... I suppose... But he's not the same kind of player. Because again, I'm just trying to be objective or level-headed about what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking. Because when Billy was first coming onto the scene, I was still very much in Camp Morgan. Because I think Ben Morgan's a fantastic player, and I thought he was doing brilliantly for us. And for Vunipola's first few caps, I was like, he's all right, he's nothing special, but Ben Morgan's pretty great, wait till he comes back. And that's shifted somewhat, just with the Herculean effort that Billy's made to improve his game. And so maybe Hughes will do the same thing, but it's... I don't know.
I think it's quite interesting. So if I look at body shapes,
I wasn't massively trimmed down now. Yeah,
Billy Vunipola was kind of just big. When he first started, he was just kind of round. It wasn't not muscly, but he was just kind of round. He's slimmed down quite a bit, and I think his muscle to fat ratio must have drastically changed in favour of muscle, because not only was he, I suppose, now that he's injured, he was always breaking tackles, but now it was more of a breaking tackles with ease almost. And Hughes, he's got a good carrying game, but there were just other aspects of his game that just weren't very good. Anyway, I don't want to sandbag Hughes because
I don't know. It seems massively ironic. I think. I mean, on the occasion of his 50th cap. The man that has spent for years been referred to as like England's Iceman, who has never missed or whatever, and he's got, like, according to your article, got low to mid 80s kicking percentage.
Metronomic.
And then one of his
I think it was around 84.
What's the right word?
I think
I can't remember. One of his biggest games though, and it kind of goes to shit, and whether that's Landmark, that's the one. Whether the pressure got to him or whether it was just an off day,
isn't it? Yeah.
Who's to say? Oh,
I
really?
think there's a little bit of the press. So I didn't know it was his 50th as a fan, and obviously, well, no, I did because in
Oh,
the
I've
pre-match
seen this stuff
amble
showing
and
up
in or the preamble or whatever,
on Facebook for like the last week.
and they obviously had done lots of VTs for it. Well, exactly. He's done, and I think obviously, yeah, it's the Italy games. You can maybe put the pressure on a bit because he should be able to live up to it. But the number of
Yeah.
different, and this is the key, different interviews that he's done on the same subject, each of them bigging it up, each of them talking about him and constantly, really putting the spotlight on him. It wasn't. I mean, he's
Yeah.
England's kicker. He's already got a lot on him, and then to add that extra little bit. And that little bit was actually quite a lot. It's quite an intense spotlight. So I think we kind of saw yesterday that
Yeah.
even the best
Can
of
I,
us are going to
in that case,
come
just
under the
from,
spotlight and struggle.
I suppose, the perspective of someone who didn't watch the match to someone who did, I've got a high. I'm watching. It's about 12 or 13 minute highlight video at the moment. Just things I'm trying to pick up on. It looked like Teo had a fairly decent game.
So the issue, and I'll come. I don't. It obviously wasn't. It didn't feel like Teo's type of game, and the reason for that was because
Yeah.
England couldn't get the ball
Yeah.
past
There was very
the
little
ruck
delivery
or
from 9
the
to 10.
tackle
And
area.
10 to the
It never
backs,
came
yeah.
out because 9 to 10 didn't happen, and then Tio didn't get the ball.
But he's-
And so as a result, although Tio, I actually completely agree.
Yeah.
I think Tio had a good game for someone who couldn't get into the game. Tio had a good game, and I think that comes from someone who
'Cause it's
is still in a stage of adapting, shall we say? Because I mean, he's rugby league to union. If anyone's going to be the best at adapting to what was going on yesterday, I feel like Ben Teo was probably number one on the list of people who should have been the best, and he proved that he did actually adapt quite well. He didn't play badly at all. He defended
and
well.
as far as I can see, defending fairly
Looked
well.
useful on the ball when he could get it.
Daly coming up again. I'm falling in love with
Him
Daly
and
the same way I'm
Daly
falling
in
in love with
defence,
Jamie George.
particularly.
It's
They Italy had an overlap. Italy had a really decent overlap, and Daly comes flying off his wing, and it wasn't the kind of telegraphed. Oh, he's flying off his wing, so the 10 would give a cutout. It was the kind of precision. I don't know how to describe it. He timed it so the ball was already going when he flew. So he actually cut that going wide so perfectly, and that was it. Then we got turnover ball off that ruck. I think Itoje stuck his head in and got the ball back. And it was that kind of defence that I just looked at and I went, that's somebody who hasn't lost his head. That's somebody who's still looking at the game of rugby and getting on with it. Whereas quite a lot of the other England players had lost their head completely. They'd gone. They were trying to figure out something else. They weren't focusing on what they were doing. They were focusing on this ruck thing that they didn't understand.
I'm becoming
and I can only imagine Johnny May's
less
head was
and less
exploding.
convinced by him as the days go on. I was beyond irritated when the team was announced that our starting wingers weren't Noel and Daly, because I get that May is apparently like the be all and end all when in training sessions, but I just don't see the value he adds to the game setup that you get from Noel or Daly. Or I mean, granted, Watson may well have not been fit, hence he wasn't even in the 23. But Eddie Jones has said that he wants a speedster and someone who works hard, and I think in Daly you've actually got both of those.
Yeah.
Because particularly if you think back to the Welsh game 2 weeks ago, where in the 78th minute or whatever it was, he's still working harder than anyone else on the pitch, and also running faster than anyone else on the pitch.
It comes, and I do attribute that to a lifetime of sevens. That boy's played sevens forever.
Browns,
and his fitness
because
levels
again,
are
I'm
through the
becoming
roof.
more and more, ever so slightly and slowly becoming more. It's bizarre. I can't work it out.
It's it's interesting. So I think Brown and May are they're like the last bastion
Well, Brown
for
doesn't really pass at all.
backs who can't
It's
really pass
absurdly
off their left
frustrating.
hand. Yeah, but that's what I mean. There's a period of time where Farrell or Ford throws a massive cutout pass and Brown's coming on the ball, and he gets taken by, I think it's either their 13 or winger, and he had May on his right hand side.
I'm
and
not
I just
entirely
felt
sure
like
you
if he
can
had a left hand, he'd have given that long
trust
pass
either
out.
of them, to be honest, or trust his other. To be fair, I'm just thinking back to, I want to say it was South Africa in the autumn for Johnny May's. Was it Johnny May? Yeah, Johnny May. Brown gets the ball and he passes it to Johnny May, and the pass he gives is an absolute howler, to the point where if it had been any worse, I'm not sure the try would have been scored. It was, yeah. I mean, May had to like leap up
It
like
was
a
quite
fish
high.
out of
Yeah, I
water to
remember
get
this
it.
one.
And it's I've been critical somewhat of Jonathan Joseph recently, because I feel like he's suffering from similar problems with regards to his attack, where he's becoming a bit uninspired and a bit predictable and a bit. Where, you know how on his breakout season he would cut through the defensive line and carry on going. He'd have a handoff, and he's either stopped doing that
He'd
and is
shimmy,
finding
kick,
contact,
and keep going. Yeah.
or he can't do it anymore because other teams have wised up to it. I find Brown is suffering that, but a degree more.
Brown doesn't have anything to fall back on, perhaps.
Yeah.
Once that dynamic always breaks the first
But
man,
he
always
has
makes
in the
loads of
past had
yards,
such,
bit of his game is gone.
a strong
He doesn't have
counter-attack,
that,
you know. And I mean, when
playmaker.
he gets a fair bit of space to get a run up, he looks like he can be a very elusive and evasive runner, and yet he's still finding contact rather than cutting through or passing. And it's, I suppose the comparison to JJ is the fact that they are both extremely solid in defence. And I was kind of, when JJ was dropped, I thought maybe he's got competition now, it might spur him on a bit. But I kind of feel like of the two of them, because their defence is... Well, I was going to say this because, one of the tries the Italians scored, maybe Brown got a bit wrong-footed. I've got to come on to Campagnaro at some point as well.
Oh, Campagnaro's step. Yeah.
It's fucking sexy. The break from Sinclair. We can come back to that as well later on as well.
Yeah. Anyway.
No.
We can talk about all the Quins players if you want.
I feel like his
I do get your Brown point. I think he's the weak. He's a player that I don't think will make 2019.
Eddie Jones is giving him just a bit too long. I feel like, yeah.
Well, I just think we don't have Watson at full fitness. I don't know. I think he doesn't want to change the ship. This is what we spoke about when everyone was surprised when he put out the same England team that Stuart Lancaster did. It's the same thing. He's changing the ship plank by plank. He's doing it slowly, and Brown will eventually perhaps be a plank that will be changed. But at the moment, we don't have.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We have
backline to tinker with.
Jack Noel and Elliot Daly are both
not many fullbacks.
They can both. They're both competent 15s and they're both competent 13s. Yes.
Well, they're competent 15s.
Yeah.
Really? I'll make a quick point. Noel came on last 20 minutes, and he was the third highest ball carrier.
Meters
made. Noel was the third.
Some of the handling and the lead up to that is incredible. Actually, Ford's pass. Ford to Jamie George. That's a fantastic try. Where was I going? Yeah, the thing. Okay, so
Jamie George did well.
Daly and Noel are both wingers, kind of. 13s, kind of. Fullbacks, kind of. They're very versatile players. they're very strong in any of those positions, I'd say. I just think it's kind of bizarre that we have players like Wade and Rokandanguni, who I know Eddie they're not his type, I think. But is that it? Because it's of everything that I've not watched enough of the Premiership recently.
Defensive liabilities,
and I have tried, but I keep hearing that Rocco's defensive positioning isn't brilliant, but I hear that Wade is getting better and better and better. But I just think that, especially if you're going, I mean, does May really offer that much in defence?
I think so. The thing is, between Rocco and May, Rocco, he'll make his tackles, but the problem is he's kind of it's a generic laziness thing. I don't. That's
well, you know who we need.
Keep getting back. He's a little bit lazy in defence and doesn't work.
You know,
hard
we
once
had a winger. Yeah, you won't believe this. Who had defensive frailties,
Leslie
so to speak, but sought out work like nobody's business. Was quick as shit off a shovel and was a very maligned player. Have you figured out who it is yet? Because everyone fucking hates Chris Ashton.
What a
He was really fast, and he looked for work like it was nobody's
very maligned
business.
player, Chris Ashton.
That was his sole purpose on the pitch, was to find work anywhere he could. And
it's an incredible generalisation I'm about to make, but I tell you what, honestly, Tio crash ball to an Ashton offload. We could get that rugby league.
No, he won't. He's gone off to France. I
genuinely believe that would work as well. I don't think Ashton will come back ever.
We can in just a second, but one of my just while we're on the topic, one of my favourite things that I used to watch.
Should we talk about Sinclair
on the occasion that I did used to watch the Premiership was when Ashton was still at Northampton. The connection he had with Ben Foden was sublime. It was beautiful to watch them just link up and support each other.
Oh, yeah.
And I can remember one try they scored against Munster, I think, where Ashton went from, 100%. The far right of the pitch to start the play to the far left. And I can't remember whether it was him or Foden who actually scored the try, but they were back and forth for the final stretch down the left wing, and it was... But if you could see, yeah. I've got
those two.
If you ignore the top knot,
the Northampton backline,
awful run of form
Myler
after an injury
was
or
10,
two.
and those two were the rest
so
of it.
That was so fond of Ben Foden. I fucking love Conor O'Shea.
You want Foden back? So I'm going to quickly, before we talk about Sinclair, just remind people that Conor O'Shea, to me, absolutely phenomenal. The mind games, and he acknowledged. I think there was a lot.
He's implemented.
Well, I saw some people posting, Conor O'Shea taking all this credit. He didn't invent it. This has been done by the Chiefs. It's been done by Pocock against Ireland. Conor O'Shea didn't invent this. Guess what? He turned up to Twickenham. He turned up to Rugby HQ, and he absolutely did it the Italian way. And
3 tries before half time, and then
he completely
3 in the last 10 minutes.
Mentally destroyed that England team in the first half. They needed repairing at half time, and
what he managed to orchestrate was
just phenomenal.
Just so disruptive, and it's so incredible. I mean, this is the thing. I can't imagine that being effective again in the Six Nations. Certainly not this year, and I suspect for a good few years. But it's So it's. I can't. Can you imagine? No, but it was a demonstration of that they are capable of. I think that was the point. Something and.
I think he was saying, "Look, we can do this. Stop us." I don't think he was saying Italy will play like this forever.
Tweeted that, which I thought was brilliant. I think it's brilliant. But
they're
it's I think
capable of
a lot of
innovation,
this comes
and
on
like,
to.
I saw someone
I don't
tweet,
want to
and it
poke
was
this
quite
bear
funny.
too much,
At
if
least
at
this
all, after this point.
experimentation
But
went a
there's
lot better than
been
Berger Pascal
lots
at
and
9.
lots and lots
Yeah, I mean that's just
online
hard
recently
analysis,
about
to be honest.
where Georgia stand with regards to the Six Nations. And I think I don't know. All I'm gonna say is that I think people are perhaps unfairly not giving Italy their dues when it comes to this. They're very, very critical of the things that the negative aspects of Italy's games, but they seem to be completely ignoring the positive aspects, which there are many of. And I think this is at least in part a demonstration of that. Why has he not started the first few tests of this tournament? Because it's no, that's not it. It's as far as from what I've gathered from a few comments on the sub is that apparently he's kind of clashing with O'Shea a little bit, whether it's
because
training or
Italy don't understand that Exeter have two amazing backlines that they play intermittently.
Because I can't remember seeing him too much in the against, I want to say Claremont, but against Ulster he was amazing, and he's been certainly the last few games for Exeter that I've seen him play. He's looked incredible. Of the highlights I've seen of the Italy-England game, he was just supreme. I cannot fathom why he hasn't been starting against who is it? France and Wales? Because he had so much. He's so strong running through contact. And it is through, it's not just into, because he'll run out as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know either. What people?
Yeah, that for it just and he completely
he walked through
a great
George Ford. Now George Ford makes tackles on big players.
I've got to try and find.
And Campagnaro walked through him. Not only did he walk through him with enough momentum to then just breeze past Mike Brown.
And it's
it's. I mean that's the same moment. He smashes through Ford, and then just sends Brown the wrong way and dips inside him. And you look at that and you just go, that is a man who, well, he's in the form of his life. He scored a hat-trick recently. I mentioned this on the other podcast.
I've just seen it's again. He scored a hat-trick
recently. He's absolutely
just
firing
briefly,
on all
I thought the match thread for
Italy should be using him. But you mentioned that he's having
before boarding a flight,
not great time with O'Shea.
I forgot to disable inbox replies, and so I've tried to limit my Reddit exposure since I got off the plane until I can sort through that mess of about 1,800 comments I need to read up on. So I've only kind of briefly flicked through various threads just to see what's going on, just to see what the massive kind of clusterfuck was. And so I've just seen bits and pieces, but from the bits and pieces I have seen, yeah, apparently he's kind of butted heads a bit with O'Shea or something, so it's...
Alright.
I tell you what, this is... I've got a question to ask before we again before we go on to Sinclair about Owen Farrell apparently missed quite a few kicks. Was that all conversions or were there penalties as well?
From what I gather, he's getting on with the Exeter boys.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's just...
Yes.
Oh no, I do enjoy that.
We may have gone for...
Did he bounce, in that case, did he bounce a conversion off the post?
I think they were mainly conversions. I remember there was a big roar went up because we went to the...
there is that...
we went to the corner, which you'd have been proud of. We went to the corner rather than kick the penalty.
This moment just made me miss Chris Robshaw. I mean, it made 100%. Me hurt for the fact that he's not with us at the moment. Because
the Italian.
Yeah. Canna bounces it off the post and then Venditti chases it and is there. And if that was England, you just know it would be Robshaw underneath.
What, the Italian kicking it off the post? Yeah, because Robshaw would have had that ball.
Yeah.
Well, not a doubt in my mind that Robshaw would have been 100% doing his job, standing, looking at the post, waiting for the ball. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I don't know where everybody else was, but you've just got that feeling. That's all he does. He's like the guardsman on the door, Robshaw. That's his job. He'll do that 100% every single time.
Well,
he
then,
will
of
be
course,
the guy underneath the
if
ball.
Robshaw's in at 6,
he kind of does the
Itoje,
exact
who was
thing that a
apparently
coach tells you to do.
a much better
And
game
he'll
than
do that
the
all
previous
game
two,
non-stop.
moves
So
back
yeah,
to lock.
I missed him as well for that. For that
Then
one
we've
moment,
got
Rob Shaw was needed
Laundry or
on the
Laws
bench.
that then moves off to the bench. It's because he's had some good games, but then apparently it's.
I think we moved Laws to the bench personally. He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't offer. He did actually play well.
Fair enough.
But I don't know. In a game like that, where it was quite a mental battle, you need less of the we can outmuscle and hit them, and we need more of the
I suppose
we can outthink them and outplay them.
So if we're playing, I just try to.
If we're playing South
rub
Africa, maybe
a few
Laws
fans
is
up
the
the wrong way.
option.
If we're playing Scotland next time, we definitely want Laundry there, so that every time they knock
body
on,
on the line for 40 minutes, and then
he's
Laundry
around the
will come on
pounce
for the other 40 or something like that.
Well, we should. We absolutely should, because the Scotland Wales games was just wonderful. I loved it.
I was in a
Remind me
Scottish
which one
pub
was
for the
Vista
Scottish.
score?
We might as well
Left or
talk about
right
the other
wing?
games as well.
Oh yeah, that what the very soft hands. That was lovely.
Yeah, I tell you what, when Vissa scored, the pub I was in.
No, it was Hogg with the softest hand you've ever seen.
Left wing. Hogg tipped it on.
Russell had a very good game, I thought, as well.
Hogg tipped it on. I'm like 50% sure that was Hogg now. Christ, Yeah.
Okay,
Russell gave a beautiful flat pass, and then
I'll get up
Hogg
highlights
tipped
for
it.
that.
Yep, very good game.
It's a good
I
song.
think
I
that
do
with
love
with a dominant, and they weren't that dominant, but with a more dominant forward pack, Russell was very useful. Back to what I was saying. When Visser scored, the pub just started singing the national anthem, "Flower of Scotland," and I was sitting there.
I did say
in this very local Scottish pub. I'd picked the local Scottish pub. I'd gone with quite a few rugby
which one to
mates
go
from
on?
my club.
Something worth bringing up
it was
is
actually really good.
with the new remit
experience.
with regards to
that was brilliant.
Harsher punishments for tackles that are head height, dangerous, however they're perceived. This is something I feel like I've got to bring up at least some point, because it's every team does it, and it seems to be something that just generally gets brushed aside, and I'm not entirely sure why. And going forward with the new regulation with regards to how offences are dealt with, how it will change, if at all, any of this. But very often, any team that plays, you will see, if a player, usually going into the corner for a try, dives down low, the covering tacklers will do everything they can to tackle and get prevent the try. And more often than not, that will often include hitting them in the head, whether that's with their arm, their hand, their body, whatever, a knee, whichever. Going by World Rugby's
include hitting their head.
This is bad, we shouldn't be doing it. Everyone gets a red card, whatever. Scott Williams' tackle on, I want to say, Tommy Seymour. It was at least, I could never say that was red worthy, but it was, absolutely deserved looking at least for a potential yellow card, because he has clattered him right around. It's not the neck; it's squarely in the face, and it's a lot of force, and it's
He cleaned hit his head.
It needs looking at.
My call in the pub, sitting there with the Scottish, I was saying, first of all, I thought he'd gone into touch, which he hadn't. He just scored. But even if he had gone into touch, I thought they were just going to give a penalty try. I thought it was just going to be a penalty try because he's tackled his head. That was my instant reaction, because there was no way of stopping it, and the way of stopping him scoring that try was to stop it earlier, if you know what I mean. Because he dived really low, and yeah, you can't tackle his head like that.
And it's,
But,
I suppose,
yeah,
because there's so
it's the new
little,
directives.
with like so many things at the moment, there's just very little consistency.
Yeah, I think if he hadn't scored, maybe they'd have looked at it.
But it was,
And he was injured, actually, I think.
yeah, it was.
He did lie down and look pretty damn knocked out. Well, not knocked out, but the wind was knocked out of him anyhow.
I did say at the time it was the most I'd enjoyed watching Scotland play since they won us the Six Nations last year. Which may have, I feel like, as much as that may be true, I suppose it does kind of cheapen their efforts, because what was it? They scored 20 unanswered points before the final whistle.
They kept Wales to.
So it's
0
whereas
in the second
we
half.
have in the past, maybe not on the podcast, but it's Scotland have been known to pull a Scotland. And
we've
they've
discussed
thrown,
this.
they'll throw a lead, and maybe it's by 1 or 2 points, or maybe it's bigger. But the fact that they kept their composure for the full 80 minutes.
I think you've just revealed clubhouse secrets there.
Oh, have I?
But well, yeah, we talk about. Well, we went to the game in Murrayfield, England, Scotland. I mean, we've talked about that before. But every time Scotland made it into the 22, they knocked the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Like every single time. It wasn't, and it became something of a joke for us, because it was just like Scotland were playing quite well. They were having a decent game, but every single time they got in the 22, they just panicked.
I got to say, Liam Williams' try is absolutely beautiful. Because again, what weeks ago was it when we Elliot Daly's try against Wales? There was that very. It's the same is true. Halfpenny to Liam Williams, kick as well. The Halfpenny's conversion just curves round. It is lovely to watch. I'm being very, very positive towards the Welsh at the moment. It'll change shortly.
There's something very.
It can only go so long.
Well, there's another talking point, talking about captains and talking about Hartley kind of not doing his job very well, in my opinion. Oh, also, talking about captains, right. Parise had a really good captain experience. Yeah. He spoke French to White, or however you say his name, Roman, whatever. He spoke French to him, and I think that immediately, he's Italian, remember? So everybody's in their head, oh, of course he can speak French, like blah. He's Italian. Yeah. He might be playing in France.
He's actually Argentinian.
Wow, there you go. But either way, he's speaking French. He's speaking in a language that he can communicate with the ref in, and England can't understand necessarily. And that, to me, was very, very useful.
It endears him to the ref and kind of #mind games, which seems to be the point of the.
So yeah, Parise good, Hartley bad, Alan Wynne-Jones.
I got to say, just to bring up Hartley, I feel like I've been very vocal about defending Hartley in the sense of his captaincy.
Yes.
I've long since tried to pretend to give a shit about his disciplinary record at Northampton, but with England, I feel like he's a different player. And certainly last year, where he was actually, he was telling players to piss off if they were getting too close and too rowdy to the ref. So he could, just talk and have words and sort things out, and he seemed like he was becoming a rational and sensible captain as well as a player. I haven't seen that so far in the last few tests, and if you throw in the fact that he's not performing his hooker duties quite as well either.
Well, there was another line out that went weird.
Oh God, that one. In fairness to that one where he bonked it off Dan Cole's head, everyone following that one was all right. So was he? He
overthrew something, and then the ref blew up because Italy had the wrong numbers in the line out. But it didn't really. In my head, it was kind of like, yeah, sure, he got away with it because Italy had the wrong numbers and we got the free kick. But he still completely whiffed the line out. Like, he overthrew it and it was awful.
God, that's a good try.
So there's just certain moments where I just think Hartley doesn't actually. I don't know. He didn't control the England team. We did win. We got the bonus point. Blah. It's over. It's done. Italy were amazing to come up with an interesting tactic, But then I looked at other captains, and we're looking at the Lions as well. Alan Wynne-Jones got told to piss off by his kickers.
Yeah.
It wasn't really obvious. Like, it wasn't actually piss off. It was just he asked for 3 points.
There's some certain undermining of his authority as captain going on.
Yeah, bigger at the very least. I don't know if Halfpenny said it, but bigger at the very least said no. We're going to the corner.
I got to say, it kind of shocks me because as much it seems like something that certainly going by his earlier conversion, that scrum should have been reset there. That's bollocks. That try that Webb nearly scored. That ball comes straight out the tunnel. That should be a scrum reset. JP Doyle should have caught that. Slight tangent. Yeah, the Halfpenny I'm sure could have nailed the kick, so I'm not sure what went on, but
I think
no, it's not that. It's that I have very few positive things to say about Johnny Lacey as a referee.
I know what you're going.
In general, but Alan Wynne-Jones called for a penalty. He points at the post. The kicking tee is halfway across the pitch.
Yep.
Why are they allowed to then kick to the line out, to kick to the touch, and take the ensuing line out rather than be told, no, you can't do that, you're kicking for the post, or say, free kick to whatever? I don't know how that works out, but...
So the two... And it's weird. The two interesting... Yeah, you're right. Technically, I think you're meant to then go for the kick, aren't you? Obviously.
Yeah.
The interesting thing for me is that it's the kickers, specifically, that have said no.
Yeah.
So, unless Alan Wynne-Jones... And I think someone brought this up in the thread. Unless Alan Wynne-Jones puts the tee down, sticks the ball on himself and has a go...
Yeah.
I think that the refs just made a common sense decision to just go, all right, let's go to the... Like, it's fine, go for the corner instead. I mean, if they'd said, oh, we're going for the post, and then they'd taken a quick tap and run through everybody, then yeah, we can talk about that being complete and utter bullshit. I think there is an element of bullshit to what happened, because they asked for the tee came on, and then they said, nah, we'll go to the corner instead.
Yeah.
But there's not enough bullshit for me to actually care.
Yeah. So
but I do agree the reffing was a bit dodgy.
Where would you, I suppose... Would this be a failure in... I want to try and be delicate about this, because it's... As much as I have been fairly openly negative towards Alan Wynne-Jones, as I suppose an understatement, he has certainly...
In that you hate the Welsh? Go on.
The bastards, the lot of them. To a man, all of them. He has played exceptionally and kind of... put to bed a lot of my concerns, and
his individual performance
I still
is brilliant.
think when it comes to the Lions this summer, I'm still having trouble getting rid of my bias or thinking that there are at least 3 English and 1 Scottish locks ahead of him. But he has been a supreme player so far in the Six Nations.
There's quite
certainly
an
the first 2
aggressive
rounds.
In terms of Wales.
Yeah.
They're suffering a backlash this year, perhaps. Because everybody knows the Lions is coming, Gatland's going to do the Lions, and he does like the Welsh.
I am quite enjoying, so I say enjoying, I'm kind of cautiously... I'm finding it entertaining, but I'm kind of becoming more and more pessimistic about it. Memes coming up about him, just pictures of Gatland and comments about him trying to justify ways of...
Jamie Roberts back into the team.
Yeah, because he's planning on taking players on tour... but not to play them because
Jamie Roberts
they're good for the
tour because he likes going on tour.
Yeah, he plays the guitar and he can sing, and he's a doctor. And then he's somehow going to be in the 3rd test wearing number 23 for some reason. Beside the point, what I was going with, Alan Wynne-Jones put a lot of my concerns to bed. Been playing well. Where exactly does this issue? Because we're about to get into the issues that I have with Bigger, which are numerous. But if he is that openly kind of, if he disregards the captain's wishes in such a way, is it an issue with Alan Wynne-Jones' captaincy, or is it just that Dan Bigger is a dickhead?
Well, no. So looking back at the quote, Alan Wynne-Jones gave the quote saying the kickers said no. We went to the corner, and then I made a mistake. He gave away a penalty, and he made a mistake. I don't know if he was that aggrieved that he was undermined. It was kind of maybe it was a brief discussion, and then that was the call that was made. I do think Bigger probably was the one making that decision.
Mm.
But I don't know if it was him being a dick so much as like, we can get 7 points, let's not settle for 3.
Yeah. You know what they should have done?
Go for it.
13-man line out.
I think they were going to. But Alan Wynne-Jones messed up.
Because it's... brilliant. A few fans dressed as Trump. That's...
Oh, yeah, the Trump.
What
Trump
is
fans.
that kick? 37 minutes and Halfpenny misses a sitter in front of the posts. I'm not sure where that came from.
Oh, yeah. That happened as well.
Immediately,
Also,
okay,
we're not really talking about the Ireland-France game, are we?
No, we'll come to that in a second. I just need to mention this. It's Hugh Jones nearly scored a try in what was, I think, one of the plays of the weekend. Certainly of what I saw. And let's try and work out what it starts with, because it's after...
You've managed to find some highlights, have you?
Yeah,
I think the whole Scottish backline is really playing very, very well with
Hogg
Russell.
On attack, Hogg going forward is something that is becoming orgasmic to watch. It's sensational, and
it's quite Southern Hemisphere-esque.
Here, it was just before half time, just before the 39th minute. Hogg gets possession, cuts round wide, and he does that little dink-in chip to Seymour, who then finds Hugh Jones, who gets all the way to, 4 or 5 metres out from the try line before a penalty is conceded. But it's a great move. Whether that's some preordained set play they have, or whether that's just them playing by the seat of their pants, or whatever.
No, that was Hogg just running like fucking madman.
Just fantastic to watch. And when did Finn Russell remember how to kick?
He's always known. He did that, obviously.
Is it a pressure thing then?
Mistake.
Because
as one of the boys in the pub said, he does it week in, week out for Glasgow. It's he does kick. He's got 78% or whatever. It's not like he can't kick. It's just he's got. I think he's got the same percentage as Foley. So
so is it Southern Hemisphere level? Not breaking the 80s yet.
He's not a Laidlaw, but he's pretty good.
How do you think? Watching them play, I think in general Scotland missed Laidlaw, but I was quite pleased with how Price was playing. Certainly in the first half. I feel in the second he became a bit slow and a bit
tired.
Pedestrian.
And then they put Henry on.
I may be wrong about what I said before about that Webb nearly tribe having that. How is that? The ball goes in. Oh no, it doesn't come out the tunnel. I think that might be fine. I'm not sure.
Oh dear! I can't believe you're giving Lacey all of that grief, or JP Doyle. Who are you giving grief?
Doyle, I think. It bounces around the feet between the locks and the flankers, and then just rolls out. So it doesn't actually go straight through and out the tunnel.
All right.
So I retract that bit I said earlier on, but. That's because I'm
he's making up stuff to hate the Welsh now. That's the
I've got to find something to.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of Scottish people going that they want to go to the Lions now. And Hamish Watson. Let's briefly. Hamish Watson, really good.
He was amazing.
Absolute animal. Up there, was one of the best players on the pitch, and he came on for Barkley. Was it Barkley?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I don't think. Well, I think he's proved why he started the other games. Really.
Wait, who captained? Barkley captained, or was it Hardy captained?
Barkley captained, actually.
So was it Watson on for Hardy then? I think because I think.
Oh Christ! You've messed me up now. Anyway, Watson came on and proved that he should possibly be starting rather than sitting on the bench.
Absolutely.
He played really, really well. He's he's an animal. He's relentless.
Yeah. This is something I need to mention because I feel like I've been. George North needs some kind of respite.
We say it every week, though. That's the issue.
That's the thing. We've not had a podcast in ages. Certainly not when I've been on.
It's been 2 weeks.
But it's certainly we had a thing about it a couple of weeks ago because of how the number of caps he has wherever he is. He needs a break because certainly for Northampton his form has been picking up, but Wales might as well have been playing with 14 players, and so Cuthbert has been getting just an absurd amount of grief for being not in his best, but North has been tantamount to anonymous, and it's
He scored that one really good solo try.
the one that broke his leg, yeah, but it's
It
or the
was
one he
it was
ran
a
on
great
already
solo
broken.
effort,
It was
and then he was broken.
yeah, but
it was
it's
brilliant.
I feel like this isn't certainly against Scotland. I'm not entirely sure how much of a difference it would have made if Wales were playing with 14 men as opposed to playing with North, and I think he needs.
I didn't see him. He was in my fantasy team, and he did.
Well,
he
that's
got very few meters gained.
I
Very,
can't
very
remember
few.
seeing him get the ball at all, and it's.
Yeah.
I think. I don't. I loved him so much. He's one of the few Welsh players that I actually do genuinely like. And on the on the Lions tour 4 years ago, I was ecstatic to be able to support a team he was playing in, and he was amazing and fantastic and wonderful. He scored that great try in the first test. He played brilliantly against the Red. He carried Falau into the ground despite almost twonking his neck.
Dying.
But I think George North is great. And so the Tour of New Zealand is coming up, and there are a lot of wingers so far that I would have ahead of him that 2 or 3 seasons ago I wouldn't have dreamed of having ahead of him. So I think whether he needs a break, whether because of the concussions he's had this past season or two, or whether he's just overworked or whatever it is, I feel like I don't recognise the player he is at the moment. And
he needs a sports
whether
psychologist.
it's just that he's in a slump or whether he does need an actual holiday.
I think there was a period of time where Brown went into a big slump, and then he said he got an Olympic sports psychologist.
As an Olympic sprinter.
Yeah. As his psychologist, and he suddenly had a really good run of form because he was in a really positive mindset.
That was around 2014, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think North needs the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, get him, find him an Olympian, get him to chat with North, because North is that level. He's Olympic top 3 level. You know, he's at that level of athlete. So get someone who understands that mindset, who has perhaps trained in psychology or whatever. If that exists, give it to him and let him try and work through whatever issues that apparently we're making up on the podcast. He might not have anything, but it's hard to say that considering he was the
highest try scorer in the Six Nations last year.
It doesn't help that Wales aren't playing very well, but England aren't playing very well, and Daly and
Daly's got
still playing well, and Noel is still playing well, and Atoje still playing well.
Daly got so far this Six Nations then? 3 or 4?
Scored a game, won every game, I think.
Scored against Wales. Did he only score one against? Oh, who was it? That I think it was Canna who got the kick away. Who got
so close.
Daly nearly scored, and someone came in.
Absolute effort to get back.
That was amazing defence. Did love that. So it's England played France first game.
Yeah.
Can't imagine we scored. Ben Teo scored a try.
That was it.
And Elliot Daly kicked a goal.
Yes, he got. So he
scored points in all, but he's not. So he's only scored the 2 tries then.
We're gonna talk about England. Not England. Let's
France,
talk about
Ireland.
England. Why not? Ireland, France.
Ireland, France. I've got to say,
just literally, it was quite boring.
Might be one of the most exciting prospects to play rugby in the last couple of years.
Big fan.
I'm loving watching him play.
He works really well with Picamoll, and he works quite well with Lopez. So. And Spedding plays well as well. I think again, people were talking about Paddy Jackson being dropped. Sexton had a phenomenal game.
Yeah,
I kind of in the back of my head hoped he wouldn't.
There's a great move he does. The wraparound is basically classic Sexton.
Yeah,
but when he's on, he's so on, and it
doesn't matter if they know
it's coming. You just don't see it.
100%.
It's such a.
And there's even moments where you think it's going to be the wraparound, and then Ringrose or Henshaw just absolutely punch a hole, and it throws the French defence through a loop because they're like, oh, it's the wraparound again. Here we go, and then bam, they get hit in the chest by a Ring Rose or a Henshaw, and that is again another aspect to Sexton's game, the deception.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had a really good game. I think Sexton controlled that Irish team. The French away from home, we know, aren't particularly good.
No, they've got a very, very off record there.
Yeah.
But it's...
So,
I got to say, I wasn't... This game didn't... I don't think this game particularly set the world on fire, but Murray was back to his best, I think. Because I thought...
Yeah, off the boot, his kicking took quite a lot of pressure off Sexton. Sexton played well, but
and
Murray's kicking was phenomenal.
His distribution and his running, I mean, I'm not entirely sure. His try, that's a very long time between him launching off the ground and the ball finally touching the ground, but I thought the first two tests so far this year, he looked so far removed from his best. I was kind of
wondering whether he
concerned and disappointed. And against France, he was... he got man of the match, didn't he?
Did Murray get man of the match? He possibly deserved it. He played very well. He kicked... I just remember there was a couple of borderline kicks that just... The bounce just went his way.
Yeah.
And it was just like everything was clicking.
Yeah, man of the match, Conor Murray. And
thoughts,
I think it's
thoughts
deserved.
on Ali Price actually going Lions?
Ali Price, which
Scottish Nine.
Well, I know you could get a bolter from one of Robson or Spencer, or probably not.
You wouldn't get Spencer. I don't think.
No, Robson maybe. I'm not sure. It's Conor Murray. Assuming he continues to play like that, he has put himself back as head and shoulders above the rest of the competition.
Yeah, I think
and it's
he'll
not
start.
Particularly close. With regards to the bench, I think I'm not entirely sure because I kind of feel like I'm not sure Price would get a... Here's the thing, I'm not entirely sure Price would get a look in even on tour, because I feel like Webb, Laidlaw and Youngs are more likely than not going to be shoring up the extra places.
Mm-hmm.
I think Price would be a bit of a left field pick.
It would be, but I think obviously being stuck behind the Scottish captain is giving him no favours in terms of international game time. But now that there's been this unfortunate injury, I
suppose if he does assert himself over the next few games, how long is? I mean, Laidlaw's not too badly done in, is he? He's got what, 4 or 5 weeks out, is it? Or
yeah, I think it was a 6-week injury,
okay.
So something like that.
So yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, Ireland France wasn't set the world on fire type of game, but Sexton played well.
I couldn't at all comment on Girardo, but you mentioned captains earlier on.
Yep.
Rory Best doesn't strike me as, at the very least, the captain he once was. I think he's fantastic as a player, especially in the loose. And you can't ever deny the commitment he has to play for his country. But I feel like he doesn't have any kind of repertoire with any of the refs ever.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's quite a bit of a problem.
I'm actually, and this is a bit odd. I mean, I'm for hooker.
Yeah.
I was a Rory Best fan. I've made posts about the fact that I think Rory Best is probably going to start for the Lions. I'm kind of drifting away from that and just going
Jamie George.
Yeah, Ken Owens or Jamie George.
Because they're in form.
Yep.
And
I think Ken Owens, particularly, even in a really
he has been playing very well.
Dire Welsh side at points, he's made some fantastic contributions. Some of the tackles. Actually, it was Ken Owens, Tipuric, and Alan Wynne-Jones. Those three, every time they made a tackle, opposition went backwards.
Yeah.
And I think they stepped up to the plate in defence a lot more than most of the Welsh team. The rest of the Welsh team, perhaps not so much. We need to wrap up anyway. I need to go and do and live.
How long have we been talking? A while?
It's been an hour and 6 minutes according to my
right,
recording.
shit. Okay, first things first. I've got to find one thing. I've also got to
Very
find
quickly.
the one thing once I've found the one thing. Can we talk for a moment about just how spectacular Kyle Sinclair is? Because, quite frankly, oh my god.
Yeah, it was something to behold.
This isn't even just Harlequin's bias. This is that same kind of animal instinct kind of this burning love that I'm getting for Jamie George and Elliot Daly. This kind of these players that are just putting their foot down or making their mark on their respective positions.
Flag in the ground. Yeah.
He is. That Campagnaro try is just sexy. Unrelated, it's just what the highlights are showing me at the moment.
Find the Sinclair break, because
that Sinclair break is just. He's got a fair lick of pace as well, because he's not small.
He's not slow. I mean, yeah, I might as well. I played against him and trained with him.
I'll look at you with all your.
I mean, this isn't really a story about me. There's a winger that I used to play with who absolutely rapid.
Is it Marland Yard?
It wasn't Yard. It was a boy who's ended up going down and playing in the West Country.
Okay.
I don't know what he's doing at the moment. Anyway, he used to be one of the quickest wingers that I've played with, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And Sinclair tried to go him on the outside and half went, and then realised, why am I trying to outpace this guy? And then just powered straight over him.
Brilliant.
But it was that thing where he doesn't get it, because he knows, I suppose, he's quick.
Yeah.
He can go round people, and obviously he just went and he turned on the gas a little bit and nearly got away from them.
But he's a player that is kind of as pessimistic as I often am and can be. He kind of fills me with a great deal of hope for England going forward, because our front row prospects are magnificent. Because Marler, I'm still kind of, whether he's on his way in or out or whatever, whether his form stays as is. Mako in form is amazing, and then you've got, Mr. Dinosaur. Or wait, is Genge the dinosaur or is Sink the dinosaur?
Stonehenge. Stonegenge.
Who's
the dinosaur?
I think maybe that's Sinclair.
Is Marler the dinosaur?
I think it was Sinclair said in an interview, or one of those things where they've got English players just chatting and shooting the shit or whatever. He says that when he was a kid he wanted to be a dinosaur. So that's Sinclair I'm thinking of then. But so you've got Mako, and then you've got Genge coming off, and if anyone wants to just see how awesome Genge can be, there's that amazing handoff on Farrell, where he basically throws him around like a toy, and it's and you've got George, who is, I don't even know what he is, because he's a hooker and he looks like a barrel, and he's the happiest man to ever live. He looks like he comes from Toyland, but he's got great hands, great feet, and some kind of step, and it's just absurd. And then you've got Sink, who is, again, with a massive bruiser, but is also just incredibly light-footed.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh,
it's that combination that was obviously gonna. I don't know. I feel like the Southern Hemisphere have been doing it, and now we're seeing it in the North, and it is great to watch.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Is this it? No, this isn't it yet. I can't find it. It's really disappointing me, because I saw it twice earlier on. But it's Haskell got a few decent runs in. Granted, everyone's taking the piss out of him for, talking with Poit and trying to sort things out. But I'm with him there. Daly's just lovely. What a try. What is it with some of our what? I find it because him and May with the thermal top, or is it a compression thing, or is he just cold? Why has he got long sleeves on?
Who? Wait, what?
Daly, May always wears them, and Daly
Oh,
wears
he always
them.
wears the sleeves. I don't know. He's always done it. He's just all. I think he's played his whole life with the skins underneath him. It's something that he always has done. It's something I used to do. I don't know. All of us did it, and I think he's just kept on doing it.
Fair enough.
I'm not sure. That literally was a. I think that's a trend that just came from school for him, because thinking back, I mean, I wasn't.
You
at
play with
school,
him as well.
They all did it. Their whole back line. That's they just all wore skins. I don't know. Yeah, they've always done it.
I suppose Wade does as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a thing. I think
weird.
Cipriani's taken to do it as well. And
That's
Sips,
very. We're 10 doing. Oh no, I don't like
Sips
that.
was at the same school, so although very different years. But yeah, that's just what they do. I don't think there's much in it, but yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
let's
You
wrap
say
it
we
up.
need to wrap up, don't you? Okay, so let's.
Yeah,
okay,
I need to go.
worth mentioning. Not next week. Next week's a bye week. Week after, we get Wales hosting Ireland. Sorted their shit out in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, it's a bye week. Perfect. So when I'm on holiday, I don't need to
Italy
focus
host
on
France,
my
and I
fancy
will
team.
cling to hope that it's an odd year. They didn't quite manage it in 2015, but I'm hoping they can restart the tradition of beating France on odd years. That would make me very happy. And we're hosting Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Scotland coming down to Twickenham, where they do all right try-wise. But okay, what I wanted to bring up, because it's somewhat interesting. England currently top of the table, but leading Ireland by 3 points. And so, hypothetically speaking, let's try and get this right. Say, if Ireland were to beat England on the last week, it all gets a bit complicated, because if we don't get a bonus point win against Scotland, regardless of whether Ireland do or don't get a bonus point against Wales, which I don't think is too likely at Cardiff, it could. I'm trying to get to the point. It could still very much come down to the last weekend in Dublin.
Yeah, I'm excited. I still think we called it at the beginning. The last week in Dublin's still going to be fantastic.
That's fine. You can play the music.
I'm playing the music now.
That's how this usually goes, isn't it? Oh, that's fine. I thought we were going to have like a mail-in.
I'm reading some comments.
Was someone not going to ask us some questions?
We do.
Everyone send us some questions and we'll answer them.
Oh, we did. I was going to bring in.
Do we?
Yeah, send some more questions. We do have questions already. I'm just trying to find where I've saved them.
Some interactivity and
them.
some kind of, I don't know, community feedback. It shows that we give a shit. Do we give a shit?
I've lost them. I care. Right, I tell you what. If anybody's still listening to the end of this podcast, right, the music's going.
Oh,
send your
run.
questions in,
What a
comment,
run.
whatever.
What a break
answer.
by Sig. It's just it's fantastic to watch. It's yeah.
Right,
No,
I will save that streamable and I will put it in the video.
I can't set
Save it somehow. Anyway, I'll put it in, and in that exact moment, maybe that video will pop up, inverted, mirrored, with a black box over the BBC logo. You know, turn your computer screens upside down at this point, and done.